What's up, everybody? Welcome to New England Sports Talk. This is Zach. We are recapping Game 6, Blazers Nuggets. There's a lot to go over, guys, tonight, so we're going to just jump right in. As usual, the highlights are going to be on the screen so you can kind of follow along. Highlights might be a little bit behind me, a little bit in front of me. Just depends, but for the most part, they will be on the screen so you can kind of see how, basically see what happened in the game. Now, the story of this game, story of the series, really, has been the combo of each team. So Jokic and Murray versus Lillard and McCollum. So not only do those duos need to step up in order to win, it's also got to be the bench players as well too. Like Rodney Hood has had a fantastic series. Last series, Seth Curry had a really good one, and the start of this series, Seth Curry had a pretty good start of the series. Enes Kanter's been solid this playoffs. For the Denver Nuggets, it's been Torrey Craig has been fantastic. Will Barton, Paul Millsap, even though he's a starter, he's been fantastic as well too. There's a number of players, even Plumlee as well too has been fantastic also, coming off of the bench. So, again, same story as usual. It's trying to figure out those two players on each team have to be dynamic, but also can their bench players as well perform and kind of hold on the ropes, so to speak, once they go to the bench or once it gets into crunch time. And we're going to go over some of the big contributors on each team tonight because there was both teams had really good contributions from outside just the star players. So we'll highlight kind of the Denver matchup first. So Jokic and Murray, they each had 10 points after the first quarter. They were balling in the first quarter as usual. Lillard and McCollum both had 6 each, so not bad. They started off 0 for 5. But they ended up getting that, back on track once they started hitting some shots. Once they took a little bit more shots, got more comfortable with the game, they started scoring pretty quickly. Now, Denver was up by 8 points at the end of the first quarter. Portland had 9 more shots than Denver did, but they were still up by 8. They had the same amount of makes, even though Portland took 9 more shots. They still had the same amount of makes. I believe it was 12, if I remember correctly. Denver did go 9 of 10 from the free throw line, where the Portland Trailblazers had only went 4 of 8. So Denver, they kept up their lead because even though they weren't getting a lot of rebounds and second chance points and things like that, they were making the shots that they did take, and they were getting the free throw line. They were slowing down the game, getting free throws, things like that. Now, somebody huge, especially in the first quarter, the first half, but really all throughout the game, somebody who was huge, especially for the Portland Trailblazers, was Rodney Hood. We've said his name all series long, guys. He had 8 points off the bench coming into the first quarter, and that didn't stop there. Jumping into the second quarter, to start off the quarter, he had a huge and one, and makes the free throw, of course. He's been so key to Portland and their game plan in this series and in this playoff run. The big thing with Portland is they've got their two-headed monster with Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. But who's that third scorer? Sometimes it's Enes Kanter, but Enes Kanter's got a separated shoulder tear or injury that he had in the Oklahoma City Thunder series. But could also be Aminu. Could it be Harkless? Could it be Zach Collins? Could it be Seth Curry? Who could it be? Well, in this series in particular, it was definitely Rodney Hood. So he gets that big and one, like I said, and he set the tone really well for that coming off the bench. So they're not putting him in the starting lineup. They're keeping him off the bench. And I think there's actually a really good advantage for keeping him on your bench and just playing him in the second unit and giving him as many minutes as a starter typically would in the regular season. But if you have him come off your bench, he's more energized. He's more kind of locks in, gets his game plan ready in his head, and knows how to execute a little bit better, in my opinion, for a player like Rodney Hood. It worked out great. Like I said, he came out, he had 8 in the first quarter, comes out, hits an and one, makes the free throw. Now, one of the big other problems that I wanted to mention here as well, too, and we'll kind of go back on some of the individual performances and the numbers, especially with Rodney Hood, in just a few minutes here. But one of the big problems with the Blazers in Game 5, they got out-rebounded 60-44. So they got out-rebounded by 16 rebounds. Tonight, it was a lot more even, I'll say that, in the rebounding category. They finished, let me pull up that up real fast here. The teams finished with 44 rebounds and 43 rebounds. So it was only one rebound that really separated the two teams. In the second quarter, whenever I was looking at some of these numbers and stuff, Cantor, he has everybody knows he's fantastic at offensive rebounds. That's one of the big things that killed the Thunder in the first round was Cantor's offensive rebounds. Well, tonight he had 9 rebounds in total, like halfway through the second quarter. So he was fantastic on the boards. He actually did end with 14 points, 14 rebounds in total. He had 5 points from the field. 6 points from the field. So his scoring wasn't really all there tonight. But his rebounding definitely was, his hustle and things like that. So fantastic effort by Cantor, really trying to fix what the problem was last game and trying to make sure that they had rebounding as a focus coming into this game. Now, the teams were so even throughout the entire game, just about. I'll say up until maybe it wasn't tied at halftime, but one team was up a little bit more than the other, and then by the third quarter it was a little bit the same. And in the fourth quarter, I think the game was up by 11, if I remember correctly. 11 points is the game-winning score, the difference in it, rather. But the most part, both teams were extremely even in every category. Portland did have 4 more turnovers, but they also did make 2 more threes than Denver as well too. So they kind of made up for it in that regard. And that was kind of the story of the series, and the story of the playoffs really is who's making threes, who's able to keep their turnovers down, who's getting contribution from other players outside of their starting 5, and who's key off the bench and things like that. Going over again, now at this point we're getting towards the end of the half. I wanted to also mention the individual numbers again. Jokic ended with 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting. Jamal Murray had 13 points on 3 of 9 shooting. So he wasn't shooting very well from the field. Jamal Murray wasn't. But he had 5 of 6 free throws, and he made 2 of 3 three-pointers. So he was able to keep himself relevant in the game by obviously playing his game by sharing the ball and running pick and rolls and playing tenacious defense and stuff. But his 3-point game was really good tonight. Lillard did have 11 at halftime. McCollum had 15 at halftime. Rodney Hood had 14 points off halftime, at halftime rather, and he had 5 of 6 shooting from the field. He did make his 1 3-pointer that he did shoot. So fantastic game, fantastic half really for Rodney Hood so far. Now third quarter, I'll kind of skim over a few things here. Now Damian Lillard had a fantastic third quarter. He had 17 points in the third quarter. He shot 6 of 12 to that point on 3-point attempts, and it was really just a step back 3. Same 3 that he made over Paul George to win the series essentially at that point in game 5, whatever it was. Fantastic. He's doing that same thing again tonight. He's just killing it from 35 foot, 40 feet, whatever it is. He's taking it, and he's got the green light, obviously, and it's Damian Lillard, so he does. So he's just blasting them, and he's making them too. So that was really the story of the third quarter, was just Damian Lillard being Damian Lillard and just getting buckets from 3-point. Now jumping into the fourth quarter, Rodney Hood, another name we keep on talking about. About 10:18 left in the fourth quarter. He had a really nice Euro step that I thought was really fantastic. And in the very next possession, he hit a big-time 3. That makes the Denver Nuggets go ahead and call the timeout and then try to regroup. Now, taking a look at some of Rodney Hood's performances, I will tell you that tonight he ended with 25 points. So this is his highest points a game that he's had so far in the series, the highest scoring game in the series that he's had. But just to look at some of the scoring totals that he had, starting in game 1, he scored 17 points. Next game he had 15, then 19, then 7. So he had a little bit of an off night. Then goes to 14, and then tonight he ended with 25. So he's fantastic. He's shooting efficiently. He's getting big shots when they need him, and he's really been a extremely, extremely important part of that team. Now, again, talking about Rodney Hood a little bit, he hits free throws at about the 8-minute mark or so. He makes 2 free throws, and that actually gives Portland their biggest lead of the game at 10 points at that point. So they're sitting high. They're feeling comfortable. They've got a lead, so that's kind of what you expect. And that he was just doing that all night. That's just one example of him just hitting shots when he needed to, hitting free throws, whatever it is. Now, at 6:16 left in the game, there was a big scuffle. I wouldn't say big scuffle, actually. Nobody got ejected, no flagrants or anything like that. Basically what happened, just a long story short, Zach Collins kind of falls to the ground for a second, and then Seth Curry kind of goes over there to kind of help him up a little bit. Will Barton was right above Zach Collins, so Seth Curry kind of, I'll say he nudges Will Barton a little bit to kind of let him move a little bit. Will Barton didn't like that. He pushes Curry, and he pushes him. He's not like nudging him like Seth Curry did, in my opinion, but he pushes him. The refs step up. They step in to kind of separate them. It looked like Barton's finger after that, after the they got in the way and started pushing them away. It looked like Will Barton put his finger in Seth Curry's face, and like might have put his finger like near his eyes or whatever. So Seth Curry didn't like that, and I don't think any punches were thrown or anything like that. I didn't see any of that, but kind of a small scuffle. We hadn't seen any of that in this game so far. And this one, like I said, they were extremely even, a lot of high tense situations, and it's good not to have to see that, but whenever it did happen, it didn't turn out to be any flagrants or punches thrown or whatever it was. But like I said, it didn't result in anything, and they each got double technical fouls. It basically offset each other by that point. And then at this point in the game, Portland was up by 14 points, and there's roughly about 6 minutes left in the game, like I said. Now, about the 4:20 mark left in the game, Damian Lillard hit a nice mid-range shot as he's falling down. He hit a fadeaway basically from the mid-range. Fantastic. I like that a lot, and I wanted to mention that as well. About 1:19 left. CJ McCollum hits a big-time three over Murray. That essentially ices the game. He's leaning to his left a little bit, hits it, nails it. Crowd goes wild, and so be it. That's kind of how Game 6 ended, essentially. So, kind of the key players I wanted to mention here, starting with Denver first. Like I said, Nikola Jokic had a fantastic game, 29 points, 12 rebounds. But honestly, I thought he did fail out. But I thought the more important player was a little bit more of Jamal Murray tonight. He just had clutch buckets when he needed to. That's who my player of the game would be for Denver, even though he didn't have as many points or rebounds or assists than Jokic had. Jokic still had a fantastic game. I thought it was just more Jamal Murray had key moments and really took the big shot when he needed it. As far as the Portland Trailblazers go, obviously Damian Lillard had his points. He had 32 points. CJ McCollum had 30. But in my opinion, the player of the game was definitely Rodney Hood tonight. Again, he didn't have as many points. He had 25 points is what he ended on, like I said. But clutch points, end of the game scoring. And he was hot. He had the green light. He was on fire all night tonight. Every shot he took just about felt like it was going in. He shot 8 of 12 shooting, 3 of 4 from three-point range, and 6 of 9 from free throws. So not a bad night for Rodney Hood. So as usual, guys, that was the recap for this game. Final score was Denver 108, Portland taking the win at 119. So fantastic game. And honestly, in my opinion, I picked this series to be a 7-game series. I actually thought the Oklahoma City Thunder would beat the Trailblazers, but not a big deal. Either way, whatever team was playing Denver, I knew it was going to be a 7-game series. And honestly, I don't think that Denver played a bad game whatsoever. They did not play a bad game whatsoever. It was just a matter of Trailblazers hitting big shots at key moments, and also it has a lot to do with them just playing at home. That's such a factor in a lot of these games in whatever sport. It can be NFL, it could be NCAA football, it could be March Madness time, it could be NBA basketball like tonight, it could be wherever it's at. It could be soccer, obviously. There's crazy soccer games going on right now if anybody's a soccer fan. But that was pretty much it, guys. As usual, go ahead and make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and comment below. Well, let me know what you think about this video and the series so far. Thanks, guys.